Most children growing up grow up with their parents, but on some special occasions they are not, and that was one of those special occasions. I was raised instead by my grandparents instead of my real parents. But growing up, I never thought much of it because my grandmother and my mother seemed like the same person. Since I was raised by my grandparents, they decided to move to Minnesota from California because of better job opportunities. But leaving behind California meant I had to leave behind my mother as well. And when we got to Minnesota, I was only about 3 years old, so I hadn't started school yet. But once I did start school, I started wondering what it would be like to have my own real mother from me. Because although my grandmother loved me and cared for me, I knew it was never the same as a mother's love would be. And through the years, my mother would call me regularly to see how I was doing, how was school, how was my grandparents, and how was just my family. And in one of those phone calls, she finally broke the news to me and told me that she was going to move from California to Minnesota. And when I heard this big news, I finally took a calendar and I would mark down the days until the big day. And it finally came to me that after 8 years, I was going to finally have my mother face to face. When that big day came, the airport just seemed like something totally new to me. Although I had already gone to the airport before, it seemed completely different. The car ride there was the most awkwardest ride there. When we opened the door, all I could hear was just luggage being wheeled away on the floor, people mumbling, and the cheap food smell, everything. We finally found a little place to sit, and as I was sitting waiting for the plane to land, I kept going over and over and over about the conversations that I had with my mother. And I wondered if she would even accept me, if she knew who I was or anything. And when the plane finally landed, I finally saw her through the gateway, and everybody else had disappeared. And I didn't know if I should hug my own mother, if I should wave to her, and as a young child, you should know what to do when you see your mother. And when I finally saw her coming down, she finally hugged me, and it was just the most awkwardest hug ever. And the car ride home was even more awkward. When she finally pulled out a chocolate bar, and she asked, a half-eaten chocolate bar, and she asked if I wanted it, and I said, oh yeah. And to this day, I remember what kind of chocolate bar it was. It was the Hershey's Cookies and Cream chocolate bar. And at that moment, I thought they had only sold it in California. And now every time I eat that chocolate bar, I think of that very memory, and I know what to appreciate.